Alrighty, everybody, and welcome to the Touch of Gaming podcast, episode number 113. Sorry for all the people that got spam email from me because I couldn't figure out today was Thursday. It's been one of those weeks. As always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, Jared Schultz. Jared.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic.
Did you know that today's Thursday, not Wednesday?
I did know that.
Did you know that today's the 9th, not the 10th? Because tomorrow, the 10th, is actually a Friday?
I did know that.
Wow. Yeah. This is what happens. I was away on vacation last week, and then Monday was a holiday in Canada, or in Manitoba at least. It's a civic holiday. And then I took Wednesday off, so I basically was off Monday, went to work on Tuesday, was off on Wednesday, and then apparently today was Wednesday. Even though it was obviously Thursday. And I sent a bunch of emails to all the great podcast listeners that signed up for the newsletter, and then I had to send them another email saying, I'm a moron, feel free to jump on the forums and make fun of me. And hopefully a lot of people do. That was a boring story to people that aren't on the waitings or the newsletter list, so I'm sorry, everybody. I don't mind public shaming myself, though.
But you should be on the newsletter list. That was the real portion of the story, so that you would have something good to make fun of Lloyd about.
You too could get your midweek lulls when Lloyd forgets what day it is by going to vgpodcast.com/newsletter. Or just click newsletter at the top. I can't remember if that's the actual URL. I think it is, but it might not be. So safe thing. vgpodcast.com, click newsletter, and you're golden. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Alrighty, Jared, how are you, my friend? Obviously, you're not as kind of wired as I am for some reason.
I'm doing really good. I was a little late. Sorry, I had a flat tire. So
they don't know that. Just like most of them don't know that I screwed up with the dates. So you've public shamed yourself. Well, actually, not that you really did anything to cause your flat. So I guess that's not entirely true.
True.
So it's been a week. Have you done anything fun on your iPhone or your iPad or your iPod Touch, Jared? Have you played any $14 games, Jared?
I have been playing some games.
Why don't you tell us about those games that you've been playing?
So I've been playing Wizorb, which you're going to review in this
good
one.
It's good, but we don't agree on that. So we'll do kind of a Lloyd review with a bit of Jared kind of chiming in at why he thinks it was not as good as I think it is.
Yep.
Cool.
And then I've been playing Epic Raiders. So Epic Raiders is by Gameville. They've been publishing a lot of stuff lately, and they've really jumped on this free-to-play model. And it is basically a complete clone of Battleheart. Do you remember Battleheart from last year?
Yeah, I do. Battleheart was one of our favorites here for a while on the ToG podcast. We talked about it a lot.
Yep, and it deserved it. The only thing about Epic Raiders is it's free, and it actually has made me think a little bit about gaming. And the fact that it's free makes me not really want to pay for the stuff, because otherwise you have to grind really, really hard, and you don't get like any of the premium currency. So it goes really, really slow if you don't actually go and pay, and it kind of makes me feel like the one bad side about freemium is since I didn't pay anything for it, I feel no shame in deleting it. You know, it's just kind of like, whatever. Whereas if I had paid a couple bucks for it, I'd be like, well, no, maybe I can get some more enjoyment out of it, you know, and that type of thing. So it's kind of made the game disposable and interesting.
Yeah, I feel that way as well. I download, when everything drops to free, I'll download it, and then I'll look on my phone or my iPad, and I'll notice that I have like a page of icons that I don't remember ever creating, and it's all these games that I downloaded while they were free, and it's like, well, I need space, and hold one, make them all jiggle, and then just delete them all, like it because I haven't paid for them. It kind of ruins it, actually, in some instances. So
that's kind of the way this game's going, because the paywall, I've played it a couple hours, I think. Been playing it while watching the Olympics, and
nice.
It's really close to Battleheart. I mean, there's different classes that you then draw lines to attack the bad guys, and it's fun, but you just have to grind too much to progress in the game that it drives me crazy. So I'm really hoping soon that we see a new Battleheart, because they were able to do it right. My only complaint about Battleheart was there's no achievements. Which brings me to Fieldrunners 2, which I will be reviewing today.
Nice.
Which one of my complaints about it is it doesn't have achievements. It has everything else, though. So
Well, it has achievements. They're just not achievements. You get little cards that pop up every once in a while.
I know, but you don't get any Game Center points. That's what really counts. Isn't that what really counts in this world?
I convinced you of this. I made a monster. I'm sorry, Jared. I ruined you for gaming.
I was probably already ruined. So, and then I've been playing Cthulhu Saves the World. So this game came out, like a month and a half ago, I think?
Yeah, a while ago. Definitely.
And I was playing through it, and I really was enjoying it. However, I kept having crashing issues, and it was just getting so frustrating to me that I put it on the back burner. Well, the last time I went to look at updates, I saw that there was actually an update for this game that was fixing crashing issues. And imagine that, I started playing it again, and it's not crashing anymore.
Wow. They didn't lie to you.
So, yeah, they fixed it, which is great. And that's one great thing about iOS is they can fix it when they release broken software.
Yeah, unlike Xbox Live Arcade, like the Fez creators that created a game called Fez, which is really awesome. And it was they released a patch, and it cost them $10,000 to have this patch tested and certified and ready to go. And then the patch ended up deleting save games. And they came up with another patch, and Microsoft said, okay, give us another 10 grand. And they're like, we're a small studio. We can't afford 10 grand. So they reinstated the patch that deleted some save games, and they apologized and said, sorry, we can't afford to release a patch to fix the patch. So hopefully this doesn't happen to many people out there, which just kind of boggles the mind that actually exists. It just drove me kind of crazy.
Yeah, so Cthulhu Saves the World, I'm playing through it, and I'm hoping I'll have a review for it pretty soon. It is. I thought it was actually going pretty fast, and I was getting pretty close to the game. But I actually was looking at some stuff, and I'm actually nowhere near the end of the game. Cool. So it might be a little bit, but I'm enjoying it. It is a traditional Japanese RPG that really makes fun of Japanese RPGs, which is kind of fun. It has a great sense of humor throughout it. And then I've been playing Spectral Souls. So this is the one you were making fun of me for.
I wasn't making fun of you. I was stating a fact. I was asking a question, a loaded question, because I knew the answer. Jared, have you played any $15 games lately?
No, because it's $14.
Oh, I got it right the first time, not the second time.
Yes, so Spectral Souls is a strategy RPG or a tactics RPG. It's up the line of Final Fantasy Tactics. It has a ton of different characters, tons of play time, lots of different things to manage and look at and figure out, and it's actually pretty good. And it was actually originally a PS3 or a PSP game, and then it came over to Android, and now it's on iOS. And it's nice the way that they've done it, because they've made it so you can play 3 levels before you commit to buying it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is one of my favorite ways for developers. If you want to make me happy, this is the way I like it. I like free games that then I can buy one time and have everything in the game. Mm-hmm. That's a really good way to do it. So
cool.
It's that, and it is $14 to unlock it all. I probably will not finish it anytime soon. However, I hope to get some more time into it so I can review it. And pretty good. That
$14 unlock, can you do it in chunks, or is it just like you want the full game, $14?
Oh, this one's $14 out of pocket. You're done.
Because it was, I'm trying to think. There was another game which was like, I think it was $6 to unlock it all, but you could unlock groups of levels for like $1 for like 3 levels. And if you unlocked all the levels as 3, you ended up paying $2 more than if you just unlocked everything. But at least allowed you to progress a little bit further before blowing the whole load on it. I guess that one doesn't do it.
Yeah, I think Puzzle Quest did that, along with a few other games. So, I mean, it's good ways. I enjoy it when I can try it for free and then play, or just buy it in-app purchase and have the rest of it. So
cool.
And especially if then it doesn't nag me to do a whole bunch of other in-app purchases.
That's always a good thing.
Which was kind of the problem with Epic Raiders. So yeah, what have you been playing, Lloyd?
Well, first I'm playing something on my phone right now. It's called Game Center, and since you mentioned gamer score or gamer points, I ended up looking at our points to see if you were inching closer to me, because I thought maybe you got sneaky and was taking advantage of my not playing so many games. But you're at like 32,000 points, and I looked at mine and I'm at like 50,000. So you still have a ways to go. I'm not as scared as I was. I was starting to get like cold sweat down the back of my neck right here. But you're still way behind me. So you got to catch up, man.
Unfortunately, I've played like 3 or 4 games lately that don't have achievements, and it's been the ones that I've been playing a lot, like Ticket to Ride Pocket. I keep playing that one regularly. No
Right.
achievements.
Right.
Outwitters, no achievements. Fieldrunners 2, no achievements. So yeah, I've been kind of holding steady for a while as well.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, let's get into what I've been playing. First up, two games that I'm going to be reviewing today. That is Agent Dash, which is a Temple Run knockoff clone type game. I'll talk about that one later in the show. And also Wizorb, which I will be reviewing, so we'll get into that. Some newer games, which I haven't talked about before. A game that just came out yesterday called Gasketball. Which is kind of what it sounds like. It's basketball with some mechanical stuff put into it. It's basically like the Incredible Machine made like the creators of the Incredible Machine or Casey's Contraptions made a sports game. Basically, you have levels where you have to get your ball into the hoop by dragging it. And you have a robot that flies around the stages, and he does moves. So he'll maybe bounce it off the wall first, or then off of this little block, and then get it in the hoop. Kind of like the old like NBA commercials where it's like, okay, off the stands, off the lights, through the window, off the car, and then nothing but net. That's those types of commercials. This is what this game is, where the robot does something, and you have to follow along and then duplicate it yourself. It's free to play. It's free to download. There's in-app purchases. It is a lot of fun, and the reason why I started playing it is actually one of my buddies here in town, Kurt Gartner, actually did the trailer for it, and that was just announced today and released today. So I went and checked it out, and I was like, well, that game looks crazy fun, and I've been playing it a little bit. The kids really like it, and it's something I'm going to be getting more into as the days go on. So if kind of physics-based sporting fun sounds like something you'd be into, I definitely recommend you check it out, especially since it is free. No reason not to go download it and check it out. I'm playing on my iPad. I don't believe it's user universal. I'm gonna have to double check that. It seems like a game that would not play as well on the iPhone, but it actually probably is universal. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Look at it. Oh no, it looks like it is just an iPad game. So it's not universal. So you need an iPad to play it. But it's fun for what it is, and it's free, so you might as well check it out. I've also been playing a little bit of Infinity Project 2. I did some beta testing on this, and a lot of my issues with it were kind of fixed with this full release version. I didn't get much past the beginning tutorial, so I'm going to get into that for the next little while. And check it out. I know Anthony has been playing it a lot, and he's sent me an email, and I haven't responded to it yet. So maybe I'll get him on to do a review of it, because I know he's been playing it a fair bit. He did a lot of beta testing, threw in a lot of ideas, and got them to implement them, which was kind of cool. So maybe we'll get an old voice from the past, Anthony Catanzaro, to come on and do a review of that, or at least do like an iOS Pulse. That would be kind of cool. But that's about it. It's been kind of a slim week. I've been playing stuff on my 360, stuff on my PlayStation 3, playing a lot of Skylanders with the kids, and iOS is unfortunately kind of taken a backseat a little bit to that. So hopefully I'll fix that over the weekend.
Sounds good.
All right, well, let's get into the show. Let's start off with notable releases. First off, not a new release, but a new update. The original Angry Birds, that's the one that came out like 3 years ago, I want to say.
I've never heard of it.
You never heard of Angry Birds? It's about these birds that are like happy, and they dance around the levels holding hands. Is that the game that I'm thinking of? Maybe that's something else. Well, they basically came out with a patch for it, an update for it, which basically adds a whole pile of in-app purchases. So if you haven't already spent enough on Angry Birds, you now can spend a whole lot more. Rovio patched in a bunch of different I guess they're like special items. So there's things called the King Sling, which makes your slingshot upgrade to maximum power and velocity, so you can throw your birds harder and faster. There's the Birdquake, which basically will start to do some damage to the pig's defenses. There's Super Seeds, which will turn your pigs, or your birds rather, really, really big. So if you are having problems with the level, you can make your different birds turn really large while you attack the level. And then there's the Sling Scope, which basically gives you a targeting reticule on where your bird is going to land. So a lot of these seem like total cheats and ways to kind of make the game super easy. And what they've done is the update includes 20 free credits, so you can use the power-ups 20 times. And then if you want more, you can buy them. $2 gives you 5 uses of each power-up. $1 will give you 10 of one single power-up, and $21 will buy you 125 power-ups each. So if you want to spend $21 on Angry Birds, feel free, and you'll get 125 of each of the cheating kind of power-ups to get 5 stars on all the levels. So I guess kind of what this has done is kind of ruined the high score mode in the game, because, well, you can pretty much just cheat and get to the top of whatever level leaderboard that you're looking at. I haven't seen any sort of notification on people's scores if they've been using these things. So yeah, that's not very good. But anyway, if you haven't spent enough on Angry Birds, feel free to download this update and spend more money, and you'll cheat your way to the top. I know Jared loves this. He loves when people cheat their way to the top.
One of my biggest pet peeves on iOS.
It kind of just drives me crazy. So yeah, check that one out. Angry Birds update for free with in-app purchases that will cost you a lot of money.
It's kind of sad because we're totally like, part of the things that made Angry Birds great was the fact that the levels were challenging, and yeah. I understand why some people would want to do this if they can't get past a certain level, because usually they only unlock after you've beat the previous level. But
yeah,
still,
but that's what the Super Eagle or the Mighty Eagle was for, where you spend 99 cents and you get an unlimited number of uses of the Mighty Eagle, which is kind of a get out of jail free on that particular level. It sends this big eagle crashing down, which basically destroys all the levels in one hit to allow you to get onto the next one. So they've already addressed that. Now they're getting greedy, which I don't know. I don't really like. So we'll see what happens with Rovio as time goes on. Also coming out, Gasketball, as I mentioned earlier. It's free. Go download it. You'll enjoy it, I guarantee you, if you have an iPad. And a couple other interesting games. The first one is Ghostbusters Paranormal Blast for 99 cents. And this is an actual licensed Ghostbusters game. So, ectoplasm and proton packs and shooting lasers and things. But basically, it's a local location-aware ARG kind of game. So you are basically thrown into a world, and you have to capture ghosts, and they show up on your map as pinpoints in the areas around you. So you go to those pinpoints, and then there's a ghost that you have to battle, and then you battle it with your iPhone. So you can just imagine walking in the middle of the street and kind of like spinning around with your phone or your iPad and looking like a fool. If you want to do that, this is the game to check out. I kind of want to get it just to go take it out with my kids. My only problem is it's really hard to see the iPod screen when you're in the sunlight. So it's going to make it kind of hard to play this game at the same time. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. If I do, I'll report back next week. But it sounds pretty interesting. Also up is Pitfall for 99 cents. And this is a 30th anniversary kind of re-envisioning of Pitfall from what the original Atari 2600 one was. So, did you ever play the original, Jared, like when it first came out? On the Atari 2600? No. It was kind of a side-scrolling adventure game, kind of puzzly adventure game, and it was unlike anything else that had ever existed on the Atari 2600, anything else that ever existed, period, because the video game industry was very, very, very new. So this was like super innovative. So you'd think that this reboot is going to be really innovative, right? Right, Jared? I'm leading the witness here.
It's going to be very innovative, right?
It is. It's basically Temple Run with a Pitfall skin thrown on top of it, and it made me really, really sad. So if you want to play another Temple Run clone, you can play Pitfall for 99 cents. I'm going to be talking about a Temple Run clone later in the episode when I do a review. I'm kind of not into Temple Run anymore with all these Temple Run clones that have been coming out. Like every week for the last few weeks, there's been like 2 or 3 that have come out, and it's like, okay, move on to the next game that you want to copy and try to sell. I think Temple Run needs a little bit of a break. So anyway, that's Pitfall for 99 cents, the 30th anniversary kind of re-envisioning of the original. And last but not least, we have Oregon Trail, the great game from your childhoods where you get dysentery.
You said it wrong.
Did I say it wrong? Let me reread that. Oh, Oregon Trail. What is that about, Jared? For $3.
So Oregon Trail was actually a Kickstarter that got funded, and the
Yeah.
game finally came out.
Such a great idea too.
Yeah, so basically they it's a complete spoof off Oregon Trail,
Hmm.
which is funny because I live in Oregon. But anyway, so let me just read you the opening. It's too funny. Travel westward with the station wagon of your four friends, scavenging for supplies and fending off the undead. Members of your party may die of dysentery, or you may have to put them down. Or you may have to put them down yourself when they get bit. So it's just great because it has the 16-bit color art from like the Apple II era,
Yeah. EGA
and
kind of really bad art, but awesome when you look at it in a retro kind of point of view.
yeah, and you can upgrade your station wagon just like you could upgrade your wagon when Oregon Trail,
Nice.
and you fight off zombies on the way your way west, which is completely funny. So
Yeah. So it's an Oregon Trail spoof with zombies. I mean, what else do you need to know, really? $3, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have to pick this one up, I think.
yep, I thought it was pretty funny, and it's cool. It's cool when you see Kickstarter projects that get funded, and then you actually see what that comes out of them. So.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Well, that's about it for what we want to talk about for notable releases and upgrades. Let's get into the news. This news came out earlier this week, and people like to make grandiose statements online. I know it's a surprise. I mean, no one ever does that online. I know it's a shock to hear that people like to do that. But there's a company called Asimco that likes to crunch numbers about different things. And they basically put out a kind of a graph showing all the different unit sales for all the different gaming consoles and other things out there. So for consoles, they had the Atari 2600 sold about 30 million. You had the Nintendo Entertainment System that sold about 60 million. PlayStation 2 was about 150 million. And then you move all the way down the list, and they have kind of iOS at the bottom. And it basically said iOS Game Center accounts about 140 million. So there's almost as many Game Center accounts as there was Sony PlayStation 2s sold, which is kind of cool. iOS OpenFane accounts is about 175 million, and iOS devices shipped is 400 million plus. So they're saying that since most people have played a game on their iOS device, whether it's Angry Birds, whether they downloaded Doodle Jump, played Bejeweled, whatever, that the iOS platform is the best-selling game platform of all time, which actually is kind of cool. And it just shows kind of how games have changed from way back in the day when if you played video games, you're kind of you're either a really young person or someone that was very lonery, and which really wasn't accurate, but that was kind of like the perception of a lot of people. And now everybody plays games. Like I hear people like older people sitting beside me eating lunch talking about the latest game that they downloaded on their iPhone, and it just it blows my mind. So yeah, I mean, gaming is kind of ubiquitous now, which is really, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that this would have happened, I would have called you crazy. And yeah, 420 or so, or 410 million iOS devices, and you think that half of them, even if half of them have played a game, that's still 200 million people that have played, or 200 million devices that have been used to play a game. It's pretty darn amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there is probably some numbers a little bit confused in there because, if people upgrade and stuff like that on iOS devices,
exactly.
But still, it's incredible, and it
it's
seems
the same
like
thing for PlayStation 2, though. I mean, how many people had just one PlayStation 2? I know most people that had 2 or 3 if they were a big gamer, because the system would die. So those numbers were inflated as well. So you got to think that happens across the board. And if you have an iPad and an iPhone, you're probably gaming on both devices, so it should count as 2 in that list.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. And I mean, it's obviously a different market of people, but it's still really, really cool to see that so many different people are playing different types of games. So
imagine that to get mass market appeal, you just had to lower the price of games, which we've been saying forever. Instead of charging me $60 for this disc, why don't you charge me $30, and you'll have more people that will buy the game, and you'll make more money. So crazy, it might just work, Jared.
Yeah, it was so funny because it seemed like every console generation they'd raise the price $10 and think, we'll make more money that way, and all of a sudden,
and they do for a while, and then less people buy games, and then it kind of falls off, and they're like, "Gee, this industry is kind of dying." No, you're killing it, is what you're doing.
Exactly. So, Well, the next news story for this week is about Gameloft. So Gameloft has announced their new trailer. They've been talking about having an Unreal game for a very, very long time, over a year that they've said, and they had one, and it was in development, and then they were showing trailers for it, and then it got canceled. And well, they have their first one that looks like it's going to be released. It's called Wild Blood, and there's a trailer for it that you can check if you want to go look at the show notes. In my opinion, it's kind of great. I don't know. It's not super impressive, which is kind of sad to me. And in some ways, I think that the engine that they used for like Nova 3 or something actually looked better than their Unreal usage in this Wild Blood.
Yeah.
And their character models, as Lloyd pointed out earlier, are just a little goofy looking. I don't know. I mean, it's great that they're using Unreal and that Unreal is coming to iOS, but it's only good if they're actually doing something awesome with it. And
Yeah.
doesn't look awesome. So
No, I agree with you there. It looks exactly like if you took the old low res models and threw it into Unreal. Like they need someone to actually do their model work because it's not working for whatever reason. It just does not look good. They really got to fix that.
yeah, so we'll see as it gets closer and as it progresses, and see if it gets cleaned up and better. And if not, well, oh well.
So you saw it just like I did. What kind of game do you think it is? It looks kind of like God of War, maybe.
Yeah, kind of like action RPG,
Yeah.
like a little bit. It was weird because some of their big bad guys looked a lot like it was ripped straight from Infinity Blade, and then made it look worse than Infinity Blade.
Only Gameloft can steal something and make it look worse.
So, and then yeah, I would say that's kind of what I got the feeling of, is kind of that God of War where it's, big time action exploration, but kind of in more of a first person view, or third person view, I guess is the right term. Over the
Exactly.
shoulder.
Yep.
So
Cool. So we'll definitely have more news on that when it's released, and we'll let you guys know. Moving on, and I'm making Jared laugh in the chat room. Is a Kickstarter that I funded, and I wanted to make mention of it because it is incredibly cool. I'll put it up on the screen if you're watching the video. If not, it's called the Bladepad over at Kickstarter. And what it is it's a detachable iPhone gamepad that works on using Bluetooth 4 or Bluetooth 3. That's the one, yeah, Bluetooth 3. And basically what it is it's a little device that you slam your iPhone into if you have an iPhone 4S or 5, because it requires the newer Bluetooth spec. It also works with an iPad, of course, but you're not going to be sliding your iPad into it. And it gives you I'm going to scroll down to some pictures. It gives you a 2 analog sticks. I can't get the picture bigger, so you'll have to look on the screen with what's there. It gives you 2 analog sticks. It gives you a D-pad. It gives you 4 buttons, so kind of like a I don't know, a PlayStation 3 controller, and 2 shoulder buttons as well. And it works via the newer Bluetooth specs. So all of these will work pretty much the way that they should. Unfortunately, of course, games are going to have to be written for it. It's not using kind of iCade specs, so game developers are going to have to spend some time getting their game working with it. But I thought it was really cool, and there's only 16 days left on this Kickstarter from when I'm looking at it right now. There's only been 212 people that have backed it, and they've only raised $13,900 of the $55,000 that they're trying to raise. So they still got a long ways to go. I backed it. It's to back one of these. It's I believe it's $60 or $59 will get you one. If you want the Kickstarter special edition, which has green LEDs under the analog sticks and buttons instead of red, and comes in white instead of black, that one's $10 more, so it's $79, I believe. And it basically allows you to play games like your iPhone was a Vita or something like that. I really, really kind of dig it. I really hope that it does get funded. So if you're interested in something like this, go and pony up and try to do that. It's called the Bladepad. Looks really cool. The good thing is if it or I guess not the good thing, but if it doesn't get funded, your money doesn't ever get spent. Your credit card just doesn't get charged. So if you're kind of on the fence, you can always put your money down and hope that it gets funded. But if it doesn't, you won't be spending any money to do it. So really cool. I really kind of dig it. Of course, you guys know that I'm a big iCade fan, so that doesn't surprise you that I'd like something like this. I really hope that something like this gets released, whether it's the Bladepad, whether it's something else, whether Apple comes out with their own device, I don't know. But it would be really awesome to be able to slam whatever portable device you have, whether it's an iPhone, an iPod Touch, or an iPad, into it and play games with physical buttons, and then maybe even like AirPlay them to your television or something. That would be really cool. The Bladepad is about the closest that I've seen to what I'd like to use to control games. And what my one hope for this one was that it would like blow up Kickstarter and they'd raise like $3 million so that people would take notice of it. Game developers would say, holy crap, we got to really support this. With 200 people getting one of these things, that's not really going to entice too many developers. So I'm hoping that a few of you guys out there listening to the show will go support it. If it's something that you want, if you have a 4S or a 5, or are planning on getting a 5 rather, this might be the best the best portable gaming controller thing for your iDevice that ever existed. Of course, if it doesn't get funded, it won't exist. So we'll have to see how that goes. So anyway, check it out. Bladepad over at Kickstarter. You can just go to kickstarter.com and do a search for Bladepad, all one word, and do check that one out. I really kind of dig it.
All right. Well, our last story for the day that we're going to talk about is id Software. So id Software has the infamous John Carmack, and he revealed at QuakeCon that they are no longer working on any mobile games. He said that it was fun. It was fun for the company, and it makes money, but it's not a lot of money, like a grand slam. So they're going to focus on Quake 4, but it's just interesting to see how this is, everyone's trying to figure out how to get into this new mobile space and whether or not it's a good place for them. And I think that this shows that for some of the big studios, it might not work for them to go mobile because they need those AAA hits that, people are paying $60 a pop in order to play. So, it's interesting for those people who like Doom and Rage and some of the other games that they do. Then it's kind of sad, but it's just kind of the way it is people try and figure out how to work in the mobile space, and apparently it didn't work for them because while they said they made money, they didn't make enough. So
yeah, like when you look at what id was doing, they were releasing old games with kind of janky touch controls on them. So you'd have your Dooms, you'd have Rage, and they weren't really creating anything new. They weren't creating anything specifically for the mobile space, where you have Epic, which is, I guess, one of id's big competitors for the longest time because they make engine technology as well as games. And they didn't come out with Gears of War for your iPhone. They didn't come out with Unreal Tournament for your iPad. They came out with Infinity Blade, which is a totally different game and something that could only ever exist on the iOS device. And next thing you know, they call it their most successful platform or franchise of all time. That made the most money per money spent on it. So yeah, I guess it didn't work for id because they were releasing games that are better played with physical controls. So maybe if it would focus on maybe something new on the iOS platform, maybe they would have done a little bit better. But of course, all their money and time is spent making the new Doom game, which they're really trying to get out as well.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. I mean, they really didn't try and design something specifically tailored for that platform, and maybe that was part of the problem. And they didn't try to make it with a smaller team. So like Epic, where Epic was able to see a high return because they didn't actually invest quite as much. They invested a smaller team. So
yeah, exactly. And when you look at it, like Carmack himself ported Doom over to iOS and then had some of his UI guys create really ugly user interface for the game and put it out there. So really one person in his spare time made that game. Some of the other games obviously took a little bit more. The only really exciting stuff that they put out was their like Doom RPG, which was a game that I wanted to play forever because it was only out on like Java phones that you could get in Japan. Like there was never on any Nokia phones that I could get here in Canada. And then it came out on the iOS platform. I'm like, crap, I want to get this game. And it's like, all right, this is a game that I would have probably liked to play 5 years ago when this kind of game would have been awesome. So yeah, they weren't really putting anything out that was super exciting. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're not making enough money to really focus on it. Hopefully, once they get the new game out, they'll really maybe take some time and look at the platform as what is the best kind of game that we can do for this, not how can we squeeze our first-person shooter tech to run on the iOS device.
Definitely.
Yep. All right, man. What do you say we get into reviews?
Yay, it's review time.
It's review time. Why don't we start out with Wizorb? We'll kind of do our jointish review of Wizorb. You can kind of pipe in every once in a while. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. So Wizorb is $3 on the App Store. Oh, I quit the game as I was getting into it. And if you can see my iPad in the video, if you're watching the video, it is an 8-bit styled game, or 16-bit styled game. It looks like an old Super Nintendo RPG. This game first appeared on Steam as a PC downloadable title, and when I saw it, I wanted it. You guys know I'm a big retro gaming fan. I love the art style. I love pixel art. I love pixel music. And when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, I need to get this game. But I'm a Mac user, so I didn't really want to install Boot Camp or do any of that stuff. So I really never played it, and it kind of fell off the radar. Next thing you know, they came out with the iOS version, and I gotta say, I really like it. I'll turn on some of the music. You can kind of hear it. It's very 16-bit. It's really awesome. And what the game is it's Arkanoid or Breakout set up as an RPG, which sounds really kind of weird. I was trying to explain it to my wife, and she just kind of didn't get it. So I told her to download the game, and she played it a bit, and she's like, oh, this totally makes sense. Basically, you are a wizard, and you basically come to a city that is in trouble. It's being destroyed by monsters. So you do what all magic users in this world do, which is turn into a paddle and shoot balls, because that's what happens in this world. And so you do that. You become a paddle. You break all the blocks. You kill all the enemies, and then the people in the city thank you, and they sing your praises. Unfortunately, every single building in the city is destroyed, and you can go talk to the people just like you go to a city in an old 16-bit Super Nintendo RPG, and they say, "Yeah, thanks for saving us, but my inn is broken, or my equipment shop is broken, or the statue's broken. Can you give me some money to fix it?" And basically that is what the game is you're trying to repair the city, and you do it by playing Breakout. So after you leave the city, because there really isn't much you can do, you don't start with very much money. You basically go into the world, and it's a little kind of map thing opens up for you, and the only thing you can really do is go back into the city that you just were in, which is kind of useless, and then click over to the right, which is something called the Clover Village, and it just shows up on your map. And that's where I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? The game doesn't really give you any kind of idea or any guide, any sort of directions for what you're doing. So unless you take time and go into your menus and read the kind of help pages, you might be kind of lost when you first start the game, which really isn't a good thing. But once you get into the Clover Village, you kind of see what you're doing. You have your ball on the bottom. Your guy turns into the thing, and you see some enemies, and that's it. You shoot your ball by hitting this little A button in the corner, which is really stupid, and then you can bounce the ball and collect items and do things like that. So pretty simple things. It's pretty much Arkanoid. I'm trying to get it looking without too many glares on it. Unfortunately, that's not working. But that's pretty much what the game is. It's Arkanoid with magic, and it's an RPG. And it really kind of doesn't make sense that this kind of works, but I really kind of enjoyed it. As you're playing the game, you have two different magic spells. You have a fire-based magic, and you have a kind of air-based magic. And they're actually triggered by these two little tiny buttons in the corner. And if I had something really like really to complain about, it's kind of the placement of these buttons. You can't move them; they're so small. And if I'm playing it on the iPad and I'm supporting the iPad with this hand, and I'm controlling the game with this finger, so I'm trying to hit the ball, and then I'm hitting A, and I don't know. For some reason, the controls just don't really work for me. I know, Jared, you have some issues with the controls as well.
Oh, I have so many issues with the controls.
You don't like them. You don't like them at all. Is kind of your issues with the controls.
So going around the city, I think it's ridiculous because whenever you're going around the city, they didn't do a D-pad or anything like that would have made it easy. You basically have to touch, and if you're left of the guy, your guy will go left.
Yeah.
If you're below the guy will go down. But sometimes you'll be left and below the guy, and your guy will kind of get confused and not go exactly where you want to go. It's just,
stupid.
And it's so hard to touch each corner or each direction because you can't really touch the corner because then your guy gets confused. So you have to touch like the top of the screen, the right side of the screen in the middle, the left side of the screen in the middle, and the middle on the bottom. And it's just... that to me is really annoying. And then I feel like in the controls when you're actually playing the Arkanoid or Breakout, I feel like they're kind of laggy. Like they don't seem to work quite as well as you want it to, and I don't know. That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, that the controls do get kind of laggy behind your paddle. And I'm playing on a new iPad, so it's not like I'm using an iPad 1 playing this game. So it shouldn't be laggy. And I think that's kind of just how the game was. It's trying to emulate kind of an old 16-bit look where things kind of slow down every once in a while. Unfortunately, I think that makes the game look like it's slowing down and breaking, which I don't think is their want for this game. So you basically play Arkanoid, and when you go to each of the worlds on the map, they basically consist of 12 levels. So to beat a level, you basically have to destroy all the blocks and all the enemies on the world. I said there's two different types of magic. There's the fire magic and the wind magic. Fire magic shoots a fireball out, just like an Arkanoid when you got the laser, and you can hit the buttons to shoot lasers. That happens. You hit the A button and you shoot the fireball, which is great. If the ball is just hitting the paddle when you hit the fire, your ball basically gets surrounded by fire and it can go through a bunch of different blocks until that fire dissipates, which is kind of cool. But your main goal is to destroy all the blocks in a level and get on to the next one. When you destroy blocks, you can get different power-ups that will fall. Not really power-ups, but they're items, I guess. You can have little jars that look like health potions. Those actually refill your little magic meter that's right at this top, right below your little character. You can get a heart that falls, which gives you an extra life. You can get a key that falls, which then allows you to open a locked door that is in the game. And you can have other different things that will fall, like coins, which give you 1 gold coin, ruby, which gives you 10 gold coins, and then other things will fall which you don't want to touch. Anything that's purple is something that will destroy you. So there's a thing that will take coins. There's things that will kill you instantly. There's things that will slow you down, and that's about as difficult as the game gets. As you get further into the game, some of the levels, as I said, there's keys. So at the top of the screen, there'll be locked doors that have a keyhole. So you have to touch them once to unlock them, and then touch them again to go into that. That'll either take you to a special stage that has a bunch of items and bubbles that you pop, and you want to catch all the items, or it'll take you to a store where you can buy things. You can buy extra lives for 65 coins. You can buy a double size your paddle thing for 50 coins. You can buy other various things that will help you out. And there's also some levels that will have doors that are locked that you can't be opened, and you either have to find a button that's in the stage. You touch the button, the door will open, and then you can go into it, or you need to actually play further in the game and unlock parts of the medallion, and then if you have those medallion parts, crossing that thing with the medallion part equipped will then open that door and stuff like that. So the game is pretty simple. At the end of the 12 levels, you get scored, or you basically go to a boss battle. Once you beat the boss, you get scored based on how well you did, and then if you've done well enough. It doesn't say how well you have to do, but if you've done well enough, you'll beat the game with a little bit of a star at the end of it, and that will eventually unlock other achievements and things like that. The two different magical spells I said are fire, so you can either shoot fire or the wind-based one. If the ball is somewhere in the world and you hit the B button, you'll basically force the ball to go towards your paddle. So if the ball's over here and you're on the other side and you hit that one, it'll force the ball to move over, which is a way to kind of help you beat levels. Also, at the start of a level, if you haven't shot your ball from your paddle yet, you can hit the B1 and then you use the wind magic to kind of teleport your ball somewhere. You can kind of move it with your finger, put it exactly where you want it. So if there's a part of a level that has a bunch of blocks that are blocking off an area that might be locked on the bottom with blocks that are unbreakable, you can kind of put the ball in that little recess, and then it will kind of bounce around and do all the damage there without you having to get it in there to begin with. So pretty simple, but it's quite addictive. I'm almost to the end of the game, and I've been having a lot of fun with this game. I haven't beaten it quite yet, but I've played enough of it where I feel pretty comfortable reviewing it. But yeah, the game basically revolves around you playing the levels, beating all 12 levels in the boss, scoring, getting gold coins, taking those gold coins back to town, and rebuilding the city by giving them money. The really cool thing is if you rebuild the item shop, for example, you actually then can go there and buy items, which is always kind of useful. You can go buy extra lives and things like that between stops on your map. If you rebuild any of the other ones, they give you special presents. They'll either give you hearts or keys, which is kind of neat. But yeah, it's just a really unique kind of adventure puzzle, or I guess RPG kind of puzzly sort of game set in 16-bit and made to work like Arkanoid, which just shouldn't work at all. But I really kind of dig it. So any other thoughts, Jared, before we finish the review? I know you didn't like it, so you're going to contradict a lot of the stuff I said, so feel free.
I'm not going to really contradict anything. I'm just going to say there's a few other things that I would have liked to see in it, because I kept hearing like, oh, it does what Puzzle Quest did to match 3s for Arkanoid-style games, and that's only partially true, because I would have liked to see something like leveling up so that maybe when your paddle hits bad guys, it hits harder, or something else in there that would have really brought that mechanic home, or maybe different spells or spells that I can upgrade so that maybe at first they are a small fireball, but then I can use more mana and get a big fireball, or be able to increase my mana bar so that I can, store more so that when I'm getting in those battles. The other thing that really drove me crazy was the whole you have to beat all 12 levels like at the same time, because I would have issues, maybe I wouldn't. It feels like you almost have to sit down and play all 12 levels straight, and that doesn't really work all the time. Sometimes you'll get called away and something will happen, and you come back, and sometimes it saves your progress and sometimes it doesn't.
Oh really?
And
I never had that happen to me. It always saved my progress for me.
I don't know what I did wrong then.
Weird.
I did have a couple of times where I came back and I didn't have any progress, and then it just drives me crazy that you have to get through all 12 levels. I almost would have been able to prefer to play a few levels at a time and go back, as opposed to playing through the 12 levels. So I think those are really my big issues. Maybe put more bad guys in the levels and make your attack power more important, or I don't know. It just felt like a really, really good idea that they could have done more with to me. And I feel like that they should have done more with, and then I would have liked it more.
Yeah, it's basically it's an independent title. So some guy had an idea, decided to make a game, released it on Steam. Now, as Todias in the chat room has said, it's available on Steam for Mac. It's available on the Mac App Store. It's now an iOS title. So hopefully, with the fact that you can get it in multiple locations, which might mean that more people are going to buy it, maybe he'll add some of that stuff back. My biggest complaint with this game is that it didn't really tell you what you're doing. It gave you a little bit of exposition at the front, kind of like blah blah blah, oh no, they're attacking our town, blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, and the next thing you know, you're turning into a paddle and shooting a ball, and you kill the enemies, and it's like, okay, what am I doing now? and it didn't really get much further than that. And then so I went on the map and I went to the levels, and it's like, okay, I got to level 5. Okay, I got to level 6. Okay, I got to level 7. Well, does this never end? What if I quit and go back to the menu, which I did? And it's like, oh, okay, I lost all my progress, so I didn't actually get any of the gold that I had just made in this level, and I have to play this world over again. If they would have spent a lot of time, or not even a lot of time, if they would spend a little bit of time throwing up some kind of cutscene introductions done in a 16-bit style, kind of saying you have to get through 12 levels to beat the boss, and then you'll get the gold and the items, maybe that would have helped a little bit. But once I figured out that each time you go to a world on the map, you're beating 12 levels and then a boss, that makes sense, and now I understand that. But if they would have just told me that up front, it might have made things work a little bit better for me.
Yeah, I agree. That probably would have been a little less painful.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, that's Wizorb. It's an interesting little mashup between two genres that you wouldn't think would work: block breaking and RPGs with very little minimal RPG-y kind of stuff. As Jared had said, it would be nice if there was some more upgrades. All the upgrades, by the way, are done through items, so you can get items that make your ball doubly as powerful. You can get upgrades that will allow you to stop the ball every time it hits your paddle, which is really annoying because the buttons are so small. I don't recommend that one at all. All those upgrades are done through items, but then you lose them when you die, so it's almost kind of pointless to buy these at the end of the day. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's a neat little mashup. Definitely not something like anything else that you'll ever play on the App Store. It's $3, as I said, Wizorb, and I really kind of dug it, and I am still digging it. I'm going to go back and make sure that I get enough coins to pay everybody and rebuild everything in the town. I give it a 4 out of 5 because I really did enjoy it. How about you, Jared? 3.5 out of 5, right? Because you almost enjoyed it almost as much as me.
No, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
Figured. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, obviously, as you can tell by both of us having different opinions on it. But it is a fun game. Hopefully, they will add more to it. I think with some more story and maybe some more RPG-ness kind of baked into it, it would probably be a much better game.
All right, so individual reviews. Do you want to go, or do you want to go?
How about you? You're doing Fieldrunners. That's a big title. Why don't you start it off?
Okay, so you are probably going to have a little bit of input on Fieldrunners because I know that you've been playing it. Probably not quite as much as me. But Fieldrunners 2 came out. It is $2.99 on the App Store. Fieldrunners 2 is a tower defense game. And do I need to describe what a tower defense game is?
I don't think so.
Okay. So there are two types of tower defense games that you'll always see. There is what they call fixed path, meaning that they're always running on one path. And then there's open path, where you then have to create mazes for them to run through. And what's really cool about Fieldrunners is it has a mix of both. That has levels that have fixed path, and you're trying to set up, and it has the open path ones where you have to try and make your own mazes. So it's kind of cool because it has both types of levels. And not only that, there's a few levels that have both in the same one. You'll have some that come in on a fixed path, and you have to make sure that that's going on, but you also have to create a maze for ones that are coming in from a different direction. So that's really, really cool that it has that type of goodness in it. There's tons of you guys really should join the live show sometimes. It's pretty entertaining in the chat room. So there's tons of towers that you can unlock, and some of you unlock by getting stars, which you get, either 1, 2, or 3 stars. And the way they award you stars in this is you pick the difficulty before you start. So you can either try it on 1 star, 2 star, or 3 star. And if you beat it, no matter how many lives you have left, you are awarded as many stars as you take the difficulty on, which is really cool because there's a lot of tower defense games. It's like as soon as you let one guy through, then you can no longer get 3 stars, and that's kind of annoying. So this one just ups the difficulty level, and if you pass it on that difficulty level, you get the stars. So along with that, there's one-time use items in there, and the one-time use items I got really, really nervous about because I was like, oh no, people are just going to be able to pay for one-time use items, get through all of them and cheat it, and so you're going to have to buy it. Well, come to find out, you can't buy in-game currency. There's no in-app purchases to get that in-game currency. So even though they're coins, and with those coins you can buy these single-use items, yeah, it doesn't do you any good because you have to earn those coins by playing the game. And what I found that I would do is I'd actually try every one of them on 2 stars, and if I beat it on the first try, I would try it on 3 stars, and if I didn't beat it on the first try, I would usually play it about 3 times, and if I didn't beat it still, I would go down to 1 star. And the difficulty is actually scales really, really nicely. It felt like you could feel a difference between them. And it seems like the main way that it adjusts is actually in the health of the guys running across the path. There's lots of different types of units, which is really, really cool. You have blimps and you have cargo ships or cargo trucks that when you blow them up, like 4 Fieldrunners then jump off the truck and start running. So they get partway through as on the truck, and then the little guys come out, and you have to make sure that you can still have enough firepower to stop them. One thing I didn't like about those, that if they get through on the truck, they only take off 1 of your points, but if you blow the truck up just before they get across, then you lose 4 points off your life because you have 20 points, and as soon as those 20 points are gone, then you fail the level. So the other cool thing that's going on in this game, the one-time use items, there's like little fire traps, or you can give them the Spanish flu, all sorts of different things to try and help you kill. There's rewinds, and the rewinds are like, hey, I made a mistake. Let me go back three waves and try and fix it. So just lots of cool little things that'll help you out in battle. And then some of the other towers you buy by playing it a lot and earning a lot of coins, and then you're able to unlock those towers. So I don't know how many actual towers there are, but there's a lot. And some of them very much overlap each other. Like you have an oil one, and the cool thing about the oil one is that it can hit multiple ones, but you also have the one that freezes people, that slows people down more, but has a smaller area, and so they kind of juggle those. Maybe it'll hit more people, but it'll have a smaller area, and just they do a really good job. And then you have to be tactical about it and say, okay, I need this tower and this tower and this tower in order to accomplish this level. And what's another interesting thing is sometimes I would fail it on 2 stars, and then I would go back and try and switch up my towers with different strategy, and I would be able to get through it no problem. So clearly picking your towers as well as experience is very useful. And the great thing about it is even when I was losing, it was still fun. So that's always something that's really important in the game, especially if they have a difficult level. So the other thing is they have it doesn't have achievements, so that's my first complaint. It does have achievements in it, but you kind of like earn cards for defeating different guys or doing different things. And then when you collect all the cards from a deck, you get a package of the one-time use items. I just wish that they would have went on and made that so that when you got those cards or whatever, that it actually unlocked achievements in Game Center. The other thing, I have seen some other stuff about like upgrading your towers outside of the game that has been done in some tower defense, and I kind of might have wanted to see some of that because it allows you to play the game and make it a little bit easier as you go on. But I understand where they didn't want to do that for difficulty purposes. And then the other cool thing that I don't think I've ever seen before in a tower defense game is they have puzzle levels. So in the puzzle levels, they'll give you a small amount of money or whatever, and you will then have to figure out how you can make a maze just right so that you can get them to go through the maze that you've made and go through the towers that you have so that they'll die. And it's kind of cool because, then you have a limited towers that you can put down as well as a limited number of, you obviously have limited resources to spend on those towers. So it's kind of cool that they do that. And it's not something that I've ever seen before in a tower defense game, like a puzzle mode on it. So I really like that as well. And it's great to see that innovation. So even without the game center, do you have any comments you want to add in?
No, I mean, it's interesting because, as you said, it combines all the different types of tower defense that have really come out. I mean, Fieldrunners was kind of the big breakout hit that got people into tower defense. It existed before, but Fieldrunners 1 kind of refined the genre enough and got people really excited about it, which is the reason why Subatomic Studios, right? That's the name of the developer, I believe. It's the reason why they made a PSP version of it. It's the reason why it exists in other formats, I guess, and the reason why this one existed. So they've taken the make your own path one, the set path one, the kind of crazy battle mode tower defense, and kind of threw it all into one game, kind of really giving you the best of both worlds, which I really kind of dig. So yeah, I really like it. I really, really like it.
Yeah, so kind of, if you're kind of sick of tower defense games, this one actually might get you back into it, because I know that that was one of those. Lloyd talked about getting sick of Temple Run clones. It seems like every once in a while these ones become big breakout hits, and then there's so many copies of them that you get kind of sick of them. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of a little sick of the tower defense and hadn't played quite as many lately, and I think that Fieldrunners kind of brought me back to it. So Fieldrunners 2 is $2.99, and I actually highly recommend it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I wish that they would do those other things, but even without it, I think that it's a must-have if you like strategy games. And and granted, it's not quite as interactive as some other games, but it's a really good game.
I agree fully. Cool. Fieldrunners 2, go get it. It gets a perfect score from Jared, and he loves his strategy, so that's a good score.
Well, and lately I haven't been too generous with scores either, so
that's very true. Cool. All right, moving on. I'm just trying to close a window that won't close, which is covering up my web browser, which is really kind of annoying. I don't need it. I know what game I'm going to review, so let's get right into it. I'll let the computer sort itself out. And that is Agent Dash. It's a free game, and I originally thought it was like a Chilingo game or something, but it's not. It's kind of its own little thing. It's by Full Fat is the name of the studio. And basically, it's a Temple Run clone that makes the big change from Temple Run, that you're not running through a temple and you're not running away from monkeys. Instead, you're a secret agent and you're running to a secret base and trying to blow it up. So it works exactly like Temple Run, except the controls are a little bit different. So if you played Temple Run, you know exactly what's happening. You're running down a straight line. There's kind of multiple tracks where you can be in. Instead of tilting to go left and right on the path that you're running, you swipe left and right to go to the different paths. There's like 3 tracks that you can go between. So you swipe left to go to track 1, and then swipe right a couple times to go over. There's gems that you collect, just like Temple Run. And you're jumping over things, you're ducking under things. So pretty much, if you've played Temple Run, it's exactly the same. You even come to like dead ends, so you have to swipe left or right to kind of turn and go that way. Where this game kind of tries to make itself a little bit different is you're running through a jungle. When you first start the game, you run through a jungle, and then you go into a secret base, and your goal is to destroy all the secret bases to beat the game. It's probably something that you can never beat. It probably goes on forever, but that's kind of what they tell you. So as you go on, the further you get, the more missions that you complete, just like Temple Run, and those missions that are completed add to your multiplier, just like Temple Run. Do you sense a theme here, Jared? Do I sound like a bit of a broken record here?
I've heard Temple Run a lot.
Yeah, you should go get Temple Run is kind of what I'm trying to say, I guess. I don't want to take anything away from this game because it is really well done. Like, the graphics are kind of like a Incredibles kind of thing. So if you're familiar with that movie, so it's kind of like almost like super deformed, kind of overdone animation. Looks really good. The game itself looks really good. When you're running through a jungle, you're actually going through a whole bunch of different like light paths that are coming through the trees. It looks almost like HDR in some areas. Obviously it's not. It's very like kind of low res, like cartoony textures, but some of the light effects are nice. It looks really great, but I just really can't get past the fact that it is essentially Temple Run. Before you start a match, you can pick up a bunch of different power-ups that will allow you to get further. You use gems to do your upgrades. There's a bunch of different upgrades, so you can upgrade the types of gems that you get, just like Temple Run. You can upgrade to add different special items, so you can have like a jetpack and a magnet, which is very similar to another game that I've been talking about a lot. So it's essentially a reskin version of Temple Run, but it's done really well. For me, it seems like I'm collecting gems a lot slower than I normally would be if I was playing the Temple Run game. So it seems like it's almost a game that I'm going to be not playing or playing more to get further, which kind of makes me almost want to play it less. I'm actually playing on my iPad here. If you're looking at, I've been playing the game on my iPhone, so I don't even have any of the upgrades that I have on my iPhone, which is really kind of sad because they don't have any sort of iCloud sync between your multiple devices, which is really kind of upsetting as well. So anyway, Agent Dash has a bunch of unlockables as well. You can buy gems, of course, using in-app purchase currency. So if you aren't collecting gems fast enough, which you probably won't be unless you want to replay the same section over and over and over and over, you can buy the gems and upgrade that way. There's a bunch of unlockable characters. Yeah, it's Temple Run. You've seen this game before. This is probably the best version of Temple Run that isn't Temple Run. But why would you do that when you can just go get Temple Run for free and play it and enjoy it and love it? That really is the best version of a Temple Run clone is the original. Imagine that. So anyway, Agent Dash, it's a free game. Definitely check it out. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 just because it's a good game. If you haven't played Temple Run, like Kara beat everything. I beat most of the game. I really enjoyed it. If I hadn't played it as much, maybe this game would seem a lot fresher and more interesting to me, and I'd probably get a lot more enjoyment. I know there's a lot of sites that are giving it 4 and 5 out of 5s. To me, it's just it's an idea that already exists. It's a reskin of a game that already exists. So I have to penalize it a little bit for that. 3 out of 5 is what I give it. Pretty decent still. If you haven't gotten sick of the Temple Run genre, since there's a new Temple Run clone or two every week, definitely check this one out. It is definitely the best of the bunch, but you might as well just go and download the original and play that one. So Agent Dash, free game, gets a 3 out of 5 by me. All right, Jared, what do you say, man? That about does it for this episode. You have anything else to add before we close it up?
Yes, we have to give a shout out to Tobias.
Yes, he's been keeping us company in the chat room and making us laugh and trying to ruin us when we're talking, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, and he also set an alarm on his phone for when the shows are.
Right, that's right. He set a recurring alarm on his iPhone. So every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central, whatever time that is where he lives, he gets an alarm on his phone. And same on Fridays for 10 p.m. for the bonus stage. So that's awesome, Tobias. I love it. That is great. Thanks for doing that. And guys, if you're listening to this in podcast form, definitely come and join us when we're doing a live show. It's fun. A lot of people jump into the chat room to chat with us, and we'd love to have more interaction. I'm trying to figure out a way in the future so I can have live call-ins, which would be really cool. So you guys can jump in and join the show, ask your questions that way. There's a lot of things that we have planned down the road, but a lot of it stems around user interaction. If we don't think that there's going to be enough people doing it, there's no point to invest the time. So if you want to see us grow and change what we're doing with the show, definitely get involved. Come interact when we're doing live shows. Come to the website, post comments, join the forums, all that type of stuff. And hopefully we can make this podcast something a little bit more interactive and exciting, something that you'd want to listen to every week live at vgpodcast.com/live. All right, Jared, thanks for joining me again this week, man.
Yeah,
it was
my
good.
pleasure.
It was good. Guys, let us know what you think. Head on over to vgpodcast.com. Click contact us to send us an email. Email us directly at vgpodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to have to start my music. It's on my iPad now. I usually have it open, but I didn't this time. So I'm going to talk a lot about something that's totally unrelated to getting music up. Oh, and music's up, so I can continue. Or call our voicemail line, which is area code 505 VG Podcasts. We definitely want to hear from you. So do that. You can leave 60-second reviews. You can ask us a question. Tell us what your favorite game is. If we were going to do a kind of a hall of fame of apps that we like and want to reward on the show, what is your favorite game? What is your favorite app? And what would you like to see out of a hall of fame section of VG Podcasts and the Touch of Gaming podcast? So let us know. Head on over to VG Podcasts, talk in the forums, send us a voicemail, and let us know what you think. All right, Jared, thanks for joining me, man.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks, Sadias, for joining us in the chat room, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Later.
Bye.